I'm glad you got a chance to eat before I get this program.
Mercy.
But I want to warn you, I'm not your ordinary medical missionary. God called me with a special work. And my work is to deal with terminal, life-threatening disease, end stages. I specialize in incurable. And this is not a call that I ask God to give me. It's a call that I ran. And I did it, and I don't feel qualified today. But I remember, and I want to remind you, I've been doing this for 50 years as a medical missionary physician. And when he called me to do it, I said, Lord, I can't do that. I want to be like most of the other medical missionaries. Well, I can give a nice health talk and dress up and, give a little demonstration, that's it. He said, no, I want you to take the most difficult case in the world. I didn't understand that back then. I really did. And he told me that if I would take the most difficult cases, there'd be a field of labor everywhere for me. I can tell you right now, I can live anywhere in the world, and I don't have to spend one penny. And it's simply because the world is a laser house of disease and sickness. All of us is encountering sickness. And it's a burden God really don't need to deal with. Now, in this presentation, I'm going to deal with wound healing. Diabetic sores, cancer sores, any type of wound that is difficult to heal. And I don't use any allopathic medicine. I'm an herbal surgeon. I have performed thousands of surgeries. And I've never cut a person with a knife. I can mix certain herbs and minerals together, and I can take a tumor out of your body as large as your head. I don't have to be in a sterile environment. We can be in a hut in Africa, on a village in South America, or even here in America. And I don't have to have a sterile environment. And it's fascinating. But yet, it is nothing but a drop in the bucket when I think about what Jesus did. How he took a lump of clay and made a man out of it. And out of that dead lump of clay, he breathed in the breath of life, and that dead lump of clay became a living soul. So I marvel at what he has done, and I'm thankful to him for what he's able to do with me. This man right here, I worked with him down in Mobile, Alabama. He had a life-threatening condition. You can play that clip if you'll play it. The doctors wanted to remove half of his face, his eye, and part of his brain. He told me, he said, Brother Wilson, I'd rather be dead than to let them do that. He said, will you remove it? I said, my dear brother Rex, I said, I've never done anything like that. I've taken tumors out of faces right here in Huntsville, Alabama. But this was something different because it involved the eye and part of the brain. And he said, I trust you. And I thought about that. I said, he trusts me. I'm supposed to trust God. See, by God's grace, I'm trying to do it. And it was a difficult procedure. Here, I'm taking, after pulling the tumor out, I'm taking gold and steel and myrrh, and I made a plaster out of it. And I'll give you a key to this, is once you move the tumor out, I'm going to tell you how to remove it. It looks bad. It looks frightening because you look at it and say, oh man, that's horrible. But actually, that's a curative process. You see, the swelling, the inflammation, the wound, the smell, all of that. It's having use for me because it's telling me that the body is trying to cast out the necrotic tissue. It's trying to expel it out the body. And I need to learn how to assist the body in this process. And so instead of running from it, I welcome all these conditions. And so you don't want to heal that wound up too fast. If it's infected, then all you're doing is covering up the infection. So what I do, I pack that wound with sugar and iodine, and the iodine and sugar oxidize the necrotic tissue and dissolve it and flush it out. The iodine and sugar purify the wound so that when I come back and use the golden steel and myrrh, it lays a kind of a substitute membrane, and it allows the top layer of the bottom and the top layer of the tissue to begin to form a scab. And it's like I said, it's a wonderful process. Here I'm looking at his mouth because I had applied the salve that night, a few days before, and I'm looking to see if it ate all the way through his jaw. But it didn't. It didn't. Praise God, it did not do it. It just simply grabbed that tumor, broke down the necrotic tissue around the tumor, and pulled it out. And that's the tumor. They saved that tumor for me when I got there, and put it with some alcohol. And I was amazed. And I'm always amazed at it because this is something you just don't take for granted. That's the tumor right there that came out of his face. It cost less than $50. It would have cost him more than $50,000 to get this done. And it's very simple. Do you know you got a splinter in your finger? And this will teach you how to do it. And if you don't get that splinter out, what happens? It swells. It swells and there's inflammation around it, and now you can't touch it. But there and about, nature would take over. It would eat away the necrotic tissue around it, causing fluid to build up around the splinter. Now the splinter is like a big tree in comparison to the tiny little white blood cells. They're trying to push that big log out of your finger. But they can't do it, it's too large. So what they would do is eat up the tissue around the splinter, dissolving that tissue to a fluid called pus. Now that big tree, that big log, is just floating in a bubble of water called pus. And then it would eat a hole through the membrane, and all of a sudden it bursts. And the fluid run out, and guess what happened to the splinter? It takes it out of it. Ain't that wonderful how that works? Have you ever had diarrhea? Hey, that's a curative process. That means that there was an offensive protein somewhere in your urinary canal, and your body was seeking to what? Remove it. And since you were so sluggish and didn't give yourself an enema, your body gave itself an enema by pulling fluids from the intestinal villi, dumped it in the colon, and trying to flush it out. I tell you, see, God put the curative process in the body. But what we do, we use all kinds of drugs, and it interferes with nature's process to cure us. Disease is a curative process. So don't be frightened of somebody. So you've got a cure of disease. It is an opportunity. Here you can see, this is how he looked once I pulled the tumor out. The swelling, the inflammation looks bad. Here, the tumor dropped out. That's where he looked when the tumor had fallen out and healed up. Let's go to the next slide. This is another one here. This man in St. Lucia. Back in 2012, he had a big tumor growing out the side of his face, and it also spread it to his sinus cavity. His nose blocked it off. Couldn't hardly breathe. And I thank God, Sister Marvella, because she knows what I'm talking about. Man, don't went through this here. Not with this man, but somebody else we personally know. So she knows what I'm talking about. And but anyway, this is a difficult situation. In a situation like this, the only socialization you will have is flies, maggots, and gnats. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Nobody else want to be around you. I'm telling you. And I know Sister Bob Douglas, she took care of this lady. Not her. One, I'm not even going to show it because some of y'all may know her. And I'm telling you, she knew what I'm talking about. Flies and gnats. She had to put a screen over her head to keep the flies and gnats from socializing too much. Can you imagine what a child of God must have felt? Can you see the opportunity of the devil to weaken her faith and make her curse God? You do it to you too? Let's go to the next one. This is one here back in 2010. This, one of my students' mother had a tumor in her breast. You see that red area around, that real pinkish red area? Do you see that little white-looking area right in the middle of that breast? Look at that and look at the fingernail. So that little white area is about a little smaller than your fingernail. But that little white area is not a nipple, and that's where I put an herbal salve on her breast. Made out of bloodroot, yellow root, and golden seal, and garlic, and zinc chloride. I put it right there. And it ate in and turned kind of a whitish looking color. But you see that real dark red, that's inflammation. That whole red area is going to fall out. Okay, now you can see right here, that's a nipple right there. That white ring around there, that is not paint. That is where the salve went in, cut off the blood vessels so that the channel of nourishment and oxygen cannot feed the dead cancerous tissue, cannot do it. It cut off the avenue to feed blood and oxygen. So the cancer cells had to die. That white tissue is going to turn to necrotic tissue and it's going to fall out. That brown area is where that tumor is lodged in her breast. Now you can see the necrotic tissue begin to dissolve. As it dissolving, it is what began to drain and come out. Let's continue. That's the tumor that fell out. And if you count the days, it was less than 10 days, the same process. This is another one here. One you really got to be on top of with this one here. This is one that have metastasized into the lymphatic glands. And once they get into the lymph nodes upon your arm, that's the first avenue by which it can spread to other organs like the brain and other areas in your body. But anytime you have a swollen gland, it is the first line of defense that your white blood cells are working. They are trying to stop the metastasis by catching the white blood cells, catching the cancer cells, and holding it in the lymph node, producing a particular type of fluid that can biodegrade it and break it down and destroy it. What nature wants is some assistance. Apply poultice to it. Castor poultice, clay poultice, charcoal poultice, papaya poultice, sugar poultice. It's a whole warehouse of poultice you can apply. And what that would do, it would cause that gland to get activated and kill that cancer cell. Sometimes you have problems with bleeding. Don't be frightened with that. God gave us a beautiful herb that produces the blood clot, produces the clotting factor. It's called cayenne pepper and alum root. Alum root, I love it because I work with a lot of women that have a lot of vaginal bleeding. They suffer from polycystic ovaries and fibroids and uterine cancer and you name it. And they have this constantly hemorrhaging, like that lady that bled 12 years and Jesus had an encounter. And by simply making a strong tea out of alum root and cayenne pepper and make a cotton bolus suppositor, a vaginal suppositor, we can pack the wound with that, give her 400 mcgs of vitamin K, and give her shepherd's purse tea. And we can stimulate the cardiac like stop the bleeding, do what the old people used to do a long time ago when you would bleed, they make you stay in bed and keep your feet elevated. That's what they did. And it worked. Okay, so anytime you have a bleeding problem, apply some kind of pressure, a pressure bandage. That will always slowly stop the bleeding. This is a man who worked out in Washington State, had a big tumor growing on the side of his face about the size of a camel. And all he did is did what God said. He told Isaiah to take a lump of figs and lay it on Hezekiah's boil, and he shall recover. Well, I said, well, hey, you can't ask for a better prescription than that. God said he shall recover. He didn't say he might. Possibility. He said he shall. How many of you have known somebody had a tumor in their body and you didn't know what to do? Go back and read Isaiah 38, chapter verse 21. And you have no excuses, okay? God don't wink on all the other folks that you didn't know no better. But now you have some accountability. So if somebody got a tumor, get you some dried figs or fresh figs. If they dry, soak them in water, heat them up, warm them up, split them in half, and make a plaster out of it. I like to sprinkle a little bloodroot on the figs, heat them up, and lay it on that wound, that tumor, and you'll be amazed how well it works. And they took that tumor off him. This man had a big tumor growing out the side of his neck. He was a big time smoker that came out the side of his cancer. And even in this deadly state, he couldn't stop smoking. And so I said, Lord, what are we going to do? He said, that's going to be the most difficult thing in the world, stop somebody from smoking. You can get them off of heroin, cocaine, coffee, I don't care what. But smoking is a big monster right there. So God told me, he said, take the very thing that maketh him sick and make him well. I said, God, that's smoking. He said, make him a cigarette. Don't put no nicotine or tar in it. Use the herbs that grow in the field, which is for the healing of the nation. And we make our own cigarettes. And they smoke it, and those cigarettes pour the nicotine and tar out. Now, I learned that from Jethro Claus. He said that if you had people that had respiratory problem or lung problem, he said burn some mullein, some ragweed, chickweed, marigold, and he said, burn those and let them inhale the smoke from it. I said, well, make a cigarette out of it, make it inhale. So, anyway, this is a difficult one because of the main artery running outside the neck, and this is a Russian roulette because if you tap into that artery, they're going to bleed to death within minutes. Let's go to the next one. These are lymph fields and the lymph nodes and the lymph system. And they're stationed all over our body. They're there for protection. And so anytime you have mumps, chicken pox, or anything like that, your gland goes swell. And that's because they're there to catch the microbe, bacteria, the virus, and whatever, catch it and hold it and destroy it. Let's go to this. Here we're looking inside the neck, and you can see the lymph system already been invaded by some carcinogens, and it's causing the lump to be lodged in the gland. And so here you can see one little lump. I put that there so that you can check yourself. You feel in your neck, if you feel a little lump on your neck, and your groin, on your arm, your breast, those are possibly lymph glands. If it is, use a warm castor of poultice and apply it there every night. Also warm clay poultice, flaxseed chocolate poultice. And that can help those glands be able to fight and kill whatever microbe may be in the gland. Okay? Learn to check your thyroid. If you check the thyroid, you just move it back and forth, left to the right, left to the right, left to the right. Listen for a clicking sign. If you hear a clicking sign, then there's a good possibility you might be having some thyroid problem. Let's go to the next one. And once again, these are lymphs. That's a lymph right there. It could be anywhere. It don't have to be on the neck. Right there where I put that little design, that's where I would, sometimes I have to go in and I have to kill that microbe, that virus in the gland by taking a bloodroot salve and I would stick it on there. Or I can take some red clover and I could keep boiling red clover down until it make like black top. Believe it or not, you keep boiling it. You take a pound of red clover, you boil it till you reduce it about 50%. You strain it, keep the juice of it, put another half a pound in it, boil it to about 50%. Keep doing that, and that red clover tea will turn like black tar. If you take that and rub that on your finger or hand somewhere, it'll burn like somebody burnt you with a match. And you put that on that gland, it will eat a hole in that gland and kill that microbe, the bacteria, the cancer that's in that gland. And that's the way to look. It'll go in and get it and pull it out, and it will collapse that gland and help that gland get rid of that enemy that's trying to invade the look in your brain. These are difficult cases I get all over the world. I just don't work here in America, I work all over the world. This morning, I had a hard time getting here because I had people calling me from Bermuda, Bahamas, Jamaica, Romania. They want me to come to Romania right now. I'm asking my son, do you want to go to Romania? You know, there's so many places. This lady was over in Europe. And you can see the cancer had just eaten her mouth right away. And you can't fix that because a lot is into the bone. Now what you can do, you can help save a life. You can keep it from spreading. But, you know, without reconstruction surgery, you cannot fix that back. Okay, because a lip is gone. You cannot grow another lip, a tongue with herbs. All herbs to do is to produce the restorative properties. It is not to create other organs. If you got your kidney out and you're on dialysis, you cannot grow another kidney. Let's go to the next one. But if you, and dialysis is a whole different deal. I won't waste some time with that. But I do work with people on dialysis, one of the most difficult disease in the world to work with. But you can, this is success working with. This is a man, me and my son, he's back there, so he knows what I'm saying. We met him over in Europe, I think Germany, I think where we met him. And he was born like that. And we had to eat with him every day. And then my son sat at the table eating him, and his eyes just dripping. While we eating, it's just dripping fluids. And he's a very talkative, friendly person. He's swinging his head back and forth. He got used to it. And I'm just constantly watching his head as he's swinging back and forth. I'm hoping no heat don't come my way. And my son, I know what I'm talking about. We used to, boy, okay, let's go to the next one. And I just picked out a song. I picked out a song because, see, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to show God's people, they never in a hopeless situation. They don't. Until you exhaust your vital forces. You see, God has given us a measure of vital forces to get Adam. We have just about depleted it. We're living off the vital force of Adam. And so the more we abuse and neglect the body, the more we wear out the vital forces. But as long as there's life, you have to try. And they're different. It's different. He's still alive, yeah, like that. He still is. Last time I talked with him, he was still alive out in, what's that? Out in California, Sacramento. Okay, let's go to the next. Now, here's one here. This was back in 2003. This girl had a big tumor in her breast. She's a Jamaican girl. And believe it or not, she's alive today, too. And she was losing about a quart of lymphatic fluid every day, drainage. And so it would wet up her bed, wet up her clothes, she couldn't go nowhere. So I took a Ziploc bag and tied it around her breast to catch the lymphatic fluids. And that seemed like a little thing, but she was so happy because she could put a blouse on, she could sleep and not soak her bed. This is the same girl right here. That big cauliflower-looking tumor came out of her chest. And when I first began to work with her, it was just like a little marble in her chest. I mean, you could put a little marble on the outside. It didn't look like this. When we started planning to find the cell, it pulled that tumor out of her chest, and now it's growing on the outside of the chest. And Praise God. Now we can get to it and deal with it. And that's what we did. We did to go there and use the right treatment. Let's go to the next one. And cauterized it. And killed the tumor. She's alive today. She's a living testimony. This is another girl here. She called, she said, listen, I got this little tumor, and I'm just so sick of it. And so I came in with a plastic butter knife. And I'm carving the tumor off her chest with a little plastic knife. She cannot feel that. But I have applied a salve that has dried up the blood vessels. That tumor is dead. She cannot feel that.
Wow.
And so every once in a while I had to stop because I would hear a live blood vessel and she would start bleeding. And let's go to another. This girl here was in Carolinas and she had tumors just popping out all over her body. I mean, it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. She had one little lump, and then all of a sudden, boom, like a mushroom. You get that one, another one pop out. And she just popped out all over her body like that. And so one of my, Margaret is the one, some of y'all know Margaret Fuller. She worked with this lady here. And, well, it was, because all those spots you see on her body, this potential tumor is growing. Go to another. This is a lady from South America. She had surgery. You can see the sutures right there. She had a big tumor. They tried to get it out. They couldn't get it all out, so it came back. And then she contacted me. Let's look at the next one. And this is her too. You see a big tumor right on the left and also on the right side. And it's probably growing out of her liver. And very difficult situation. But these are the easiest tumors to remove because they're budging on the outside. It's the one that's going in the inside that is difficult. Let's go to the next one. Now this is one that was in the inside. And this lady here, she's on the hospice care. She's sucking on a lemon and she's spitting up, throwing up bile. She's throwing up bile. Now, she had a big tumor on her side, how big a watermelon. Watch this. You don't got no stone for it. Turn away from it. But you're going to see something. She gagged. You see what came out of her. That is narcotic fluid that was trapped in her abdominal cavity. We removed the big tumor, deflated the tumor on the side, and now all this narcotic fluid just shooting out. And my son, he was about 5 or 6 years old. We was up in northern Alberta, him and his mother. And his mother and myself, we applied a fig post, the same one with Isaiah 38 chapter. We applied on her that night. About 2:30 in the morning, they said, Ron, come. And it was just shooting narcotic fluid up on the wall and everywhere. And so I just took a big towel and I packed it on it and held it until it calmed down. Let's go to the next one. So these are diabetic sores here. And with all these types of sores and wounds, they'll respond real good with sugar and iodine. That's the foot. Yeah, the side of the foot and underside. You can see the tendons and all the tissue and stuff. You'll see when we turn it to see.
What is this? What's up?
But notice the color. You see the pink color. As long as you see the pink color, there's hope. If that foot was black on the bottom and the top, then it's dead. There's nothing you can do with it, but you have it amputated or let the maggots amputate it. And the maggots would do a better job than any surgeon would do. Okay? They were drawing surgical maggots to do this work. They'll put them on you and they will go in and remove that foot. So let's continue. Here, this is one that's real old. Here, me and my wife here, and I'm doing a demo like I'm here. I brought some stuff to do a demo. I was going to show you different things that I I got here so late, I just can't set it up. But this evening, when I speak, because I'm going to be dealing with the coronavirus, and I'm going to show you, I'm hoping maybe I have time to set up a demonstration. So. But anyway, here I'm just going through different things that can be done. You can use tallow for burn, honey and sugar for gangrene. Let's go to another one. We also run a school where we train other missionary physicians. Now, we do not train lifestyle missionaries. We don't. We ask them already to been somewhere and get trained to this lifestyle. Lifestyle is the foundation. It's the foundation. And so you have to know how to do that. And so, but when they come to us, we want them to already have been there. So you go to Wildwood, or YouTube Pines, or Harlan, or Weimar. It's a good place. They're very good at what they do. They teach the lifestyle. And then if you want to come to the level of a physician, then you come to our facility, our other facility that will give you a little more advanced approach to it. Anyway, here I'm teaching them how to debride a wound, and I had to create a wound by using egg roll and glue to give an idea to the students. And they would watch me do it, and then I would watch them do it. And then I said, now, I believe you can do it. I'll put them on patients, and then you go do it. And so they'll learn how to do it. But they learn all these mannequins. I have medical mannequins. I could have brought some here, but I was rushing to get here. But here he's teaching how to breathe. And you have to do that because bacteria will grow up under that dead tissue, and you don't want that. Let's go to the other. So here you can see what I'm talking about. Over here to my left, those are pressure spots. So if you work with a diabetic patient or somebody, notice the pressure spots. If they're reddish, and then sometimes they can be discolored or turning dark or brown. Those are possible pressure spots. The diabetic person possibly cannot feel the pain because the nerves are dead. But if you don't do anything about it, it's going to deprive the tissue of blood, and it's going to turn black like that. If it turns black, let's go to the next one. If it turns black on the top and the bottom, then that foot is dead. Okay, right here you can see the gangrene tissue with the big toe, but over here on the toe next to the big toe is a wound that's had a very difficult time healing. That means it's been deprived of oxygen and nourishment. If that continues to take place, it's going to end up like that big toe, and then half of your foot, and then they're going to cut your leg or foot off. Let's go to the next one. Diabetic blister can occur on the back of the finger, hand, toes, feet, sometimes on the leg or the forearm. These sores look like burnt blisters and often occur in people who have diabetic neuropathy. Now, neuropathy is one we get a lot. Diabetics have a lot of problems with pain. Diabetic neuropathy, nerve pain. And what you learn how to do is to treat pain with pain. I learned that trick. So if they got pain, create pain. If you understand the physiology of the body can only experience one pain at a time. You cannot have a headache and a toothache at the same time. You cannot do it. It'll vacillate back and forth. But if somebody tell me I got a toothache and I got a toothache, I said, no, you ain't got that. I said, it may be switching back and forth. So if your head is hurting, that's what you feel. And then you go to your toe, that's what you feel. So people don't believe this. So I told them, I said, look, the next time you see somebody with headache and you want to stop it, take a hammer and hit them on their toe. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to leave their head alone and grab their toe. And they're going to be rubbing their toe, they're going to forget about the head. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. But don't do that. You can create pain without doing that. And that's simply by using cayenne pepper and ginger and a solvent such as DMSO or alcohol or vinegar. You can mix that. You don't mix all of them together. They're all different solvents. You can take cayenne pepper. Let me give you one. Take 6 teaspoons of cayenne pepper. Make sure it's 100,000, not less than 90,000 heat units. All cayenne pepper is not the same. Anything under 90,000 is an irritant, is red pepper, put it in the trash can. But it should be anywhere from 90,000 to 120,000. Take that and get you some kind of coconut oil, Vaseline, whichever you want. Take 6 teaspoons of cayenne pepper. Take 8 to 10 ounces of Vaseline or coconut oil, your choice. And then take 1 tablespoon of peppermint or eucalyptus. And you can take 1 tablespoon of eucalyptus or peppermint, either one. And then take about a ½ ounce of DMSO. ½ ounce of DMSO. Yes, that's a solvent. They make it from pine trees. It's a natural solvent made from pine trees. Beat that up till you get a cream out of it and apply that over the painful area. What that will do is going to heat up and get really hot. And you're going to be feeling it. But the tiny little particles of cayenne pepper, well, the peppermint is going to, when you put peppermint on your skin, and you notice how it feel cool, that's because your pores open up. When your pores open up, it let the heat out. And your pores open up, the parts of cayenne pepper slips right down the little pores, and then it closes in, leaving cayenne up under the skin. And the cayenne is there burning a little bit. Your central nervous system recognizes these thousands of cayenne particles burning. It cannot respond to that. So it shuts down the nerve sensors. Shut it down and stop it. We work with back pain, all types of pain by using cayenne pepper. Let's go to the next one.
What percentage of cayenne?
Don't go less than 90,000 units.
90,000?
Yeah, you go 90,000, but don't get 60 or 50,000. At least let it be 90,000. These are different ornaments that I made. I won't spend a lot of time because I know I only have an hour to speak, so I have no clue what time it is. So you wave your hand back there when my time is up.
Got 20 minutes.
Okay. So I try to leave a little time for some questions. But this is an ornament you can make. I'll leave it up there for a little bit. And if you have any questions you want to ask me concerning this subject or anything you want to ask me, if you're going to talk about corona, let's wait till the next program on that. But anything from prostate, brain cancer, bone cancer, to I don't care whether it's schizophrenia, whatever it is, you can ask me questions and I can try to answer some of your questions before I stop. Once again, we have a school. If you're interested in coming to school, I live facilities in Cypress Inn, Tennessee. That's about an hour and a half from here, just right across from Florence, Alabama. We have a facility. We can house up to about 35 students there on the campus. And you'll be there for 30 days. It's a 30-day on-campus training. For those students that want to continue their training after 30 days, you're guaranteed employment. And Brother Jay, raise your hand. Brother Jay is a worker now, but he just come off of it. I think what you was on assignment for about 2 or 3 months, didn't you? Yeah. And I think you got one of the speakers named Michael Martin. Brother Jay worked with Michael Martin's father. And he did a wonderful job. So, but anyway, after you finish your 30 days, we give you assignments, or we help you with assignment, and then we'll pay you to do it. And I don't take 1 penny of the students' donation, not one penny, because I want them to stay in work, and I let them do it. They give them, whatever they give them. When we ask before they go, what they should give them. We try to work that out. All of that go to them. Okay? And they continue to do that, and they report back to us their success and whatever it is, failures, and we learn, they get another assignment to keep going until they don't need us. Brother Jay don't need us anymore. He was there for the whole 2 or 3 months. He didn't call me for nothing. Because he got it. Okay, and that's what we want. We want you to get to the point where you do not have to. He's at the point where he can send out people and have his own resource. Okay, any questions? Okay.
I'm just gonna ask you, can you come to your facility before you go to one of the others, or do you have to go to them first?
Well, you can. It's going to be different. If you don't, now you can come as long as you understand the fundamentals. See, the 8 doctors is the 10th commandment of health. It's like telling a person to keep the Sabbath and they don't know anything about the 10 commandments. Now, they didn't learn it pronto. But it would be a lot easier if you had fundamental knowledge on those 8 doctors. But yes, not your question, yes, they can come.
I'm just saying, like, you got the medical field, but they don't get to either one of them. I'm just saying, can you come to your place for the Thursday?
I'm going to answer this question. I'm glad you asked that. Every year we have doctors and registered nurses that take our training. And they don't know no more than you would know. There is no advantage in natural God's plan of working. There's no advantage at all. Only advantage is the bedside nursing. But treatments, no. They all have to learn a whole new system. So no, you don't need no pre-education to do this work. Holy Spirit will qualify you and get you in it. And you can be self-sufficient in doing this work. I've been doing this for 50 years and I have not worked for a man not one day for 50 years. And I live like a king.
Amen.
And I don't have no money, so don't ask to borrow it.
I don't need to borrow.
I'm just talking to you, which that's all. Okay, anyone else?
I know somebody with carpal tunnel that has a lot of problems with. Do you have an ointment that would work for that?
Any of these wonders would help with carpal tunnel, but you need, I would rub these wonders on them. Yes, I would do that. But I would soak their hand in warm vinegar. I would take some warm vinegar. I say enough. I would say maybe 10 to 12 ounces of warm vinegar, and I put maybe 2 ounces of ginger powder in it, and maybe an ounce of cayenne pepper, and I would soak their hand in that. I would probably do that. As long as they're in pain, I do it every night. But eventually you end up doing it like 3 times a week. Okay, you do it every night. Yeah. Take about 12, enough to, to cover your hand. I'm going to say 12 ounces of vinegar. You may need more than that.
How much time?
Take about 1 ounce of cayenne pepper. And about 1 or 2 ounces of ginger. And you soak your hand in warm vinegar. That's a mixture. You do that every night as long as you got pain. And then what you want to do is get you some DMSO. DMSO is the most powerful pain remover it is. It's going to do the job.
Where got it from?
Well, they over here in, used to be Curly Gates, probably got it, and this other. They stopped. What about, they are down on National Next.
You can get it where they sell animal products.
Yes, you're right.
They sell things for animals.
You can get it at animal feed store. Down here, help us go down here on,
Last year.
Young Parkway. I know, I bought it there.
You can get it at the co-op.
Oh, you give that co-op. Well, make sure that it's 99.9% pure. You don't want to get industrial DMSO. You don't want that. Now, I use the pharmaceutical grade DMSO, that means I can ingest it orally. But you don't get industrial. You don't want that. It's got toxic sediments in it. So get it 99.9% pure. And what you want to do is to take some olive oil, or vitamin E oil, and rub that over your hand and your wrist first. And then you want to sponge DMSO over the top of it. Then you want to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy your infrared light bulb. That's a 250 watt infrared light bulb. That's a big red light bulb. That's 250 watt infrared light bulb. You want to buy that. And you need to get a globe. Globe is what you stroke the bulb in, so you won't burn your hand. And you want to, once you rub your hand with olive oil, vitamin E, then you want to sponge DMSO over the top of it. Then you want to take that infrared light bulb and keep moving it over your hand. Don't let it set still because it'll burn you. Keep moving. Turn it over to the side. Heat it up real good. Keep it about 12 to 16 inches away from your skin. I would say, it depends on, you can do it 5 minutes, 3 minutes. It's really good. I mean, you can do it longer than that if you want to. But I want to believe that will do a tremendous job at copper time. And then don't overuse that name. That copper comes from hyperactivity, overuse. So you've got to be moderate in the use to those ligaments to get that inflammation out of it. Anyone else?
That's all.
It won't do what the infrared does. The infrared will penetrate down in the ligaments and the muscles. It will actually go right into it. I make my own natural X-ray machine out of this infrared light bulb, where I can shoot beams right at their body, especially when people have lung problems. I can just shoot them into them, and it don't have any toxic radium in it at all. And the reason it don't have any toxic radium because I don't use magnetic electromagnets. The reason why radiation machines are so toxic, they use this electromagnets, and I don't put that in mine. It's just a simple groove box with these lights, and I use DMSO. Okay, the next person.
Yes, the paints, ingredients you gave for the cayenne pepper, can you use that on post-shingle paint?
You can.
Or do you have another?
No, that's what I would do. Typically, I wouldn't have to do all this machine. I would simply just get me to make an ornament out of DMSO and cayenne pepper. That's either use Vaseline, coconut oil, or olive oil with DMSO and cayenne pepper, and rub that on the shingles. And that will definitely work. I've had people that shingles across their face, in the back, in the chest, and it works really good. You know where shingles come from, right? That little bird. Yeah, chicken. Shingles is nothing but herpes. That's all it is. All chickens got herpes. And when you eat chicken, you ever seen some of y'all old enough to pluck the feathers off a chicken? Always see bumps all over it. Those bumps is herpes. Okay? And some of your immune system is strong enough that it can resist it, but if you got a weak immune system, you can end up with shingles or chicken pox. Anyone else?
You got one to it.
Yes, and are your treatments for traumatic brain injuries?
Definitely. I work with a lot of them. I work with cancer brain. I worked with a man in Vancouver, Canada, that got his head ran over by a car. And I worked with severe concussion. I worked with broken necks, quadriplegia. Yes, it is. And you're talking about a lot of work. I work with Alzheimer's, people where their brain proteins dissolve. Then you may ask, can you do all that? It's God first, I'll let you know. But I'm going to let you know one thing. God ain't going to bless no laziness. Okay? I do not have a life outside of this. I do not have a life outside of this. This is it. For 50 years, this is it. My wife did the same thing. My son's been trying to do the same thing. And my son Jay is doing the same thing. So they have committed their life to this work. So it ain't no personal life. I travel all over the world. So you've been in Hawaii, you've been in Australia, you've been to Germany. Oh yeah, did you see this? I don't see nothing but sick folks. I don't see nothing. I'm going to tell you all, as soon as my son and my other boy that did where they can run that place, I'm going to take some vacation. I got sick. I got critically ill back 50 months ago. I was sitting up there talking, went to my house and had him to my son's day there. I was dead. He told my son to check on me. I fell out the bed unconscious. They got the helicopter to get me, but they couldn't get it in there. The paramedics came and got me. I was severely dehydrated. My potassium sodium level was almost zero. My body was shutting down. And they had to rehydrate me for 7 days. After rehydrate me, I'm ready to go again. But I'm working under moderation. I would work 8 hours without stopping. There's so many people calling us to do health problems. I'm leaving here tonight. I'm headed to Kentucky. I got a First Aid church. I'm going there to do a seminar. After I finished doing that, Sunday I got to do the history of William Ford and Haitian Frost and Ellen White. 3 black people. I know that's a shock to you. It shouldn't be. That's what we kept it from. 3 black people, prophets God used. I'm going to go there and do a seminar. So I've learned I can't take everything. I can't do it. Anyone else?
Well, I didn't understand that brother's question.
Almost severe trauma to the head is what he was saying. And I didn't go through the treatments. What I do is anytime I'm dealing with a brain injury, severe brain injury, the main thing is reduce the swelling. And to reduce the swelling is we make a thing called tofu poultice. We do a tofu poultice and a hot foot bath. And we're able to take the swelling off the brain. And then we let them eat 3 ounces of asparagus. Cooked asparagus has special enzymes that will help the brain cells heal. That's for Alzheimer's, that's for mental illness, and so on. Yes?
I have a question also. I thank the Lord, first of all, for you coming here. And also I thank the Lord for giving me a low stress level. I'm not bothered a lot by stress. We all experience stress, of course. But high blood pressure is something that even I have to watch. I don't take my blood pressure every day or every week or every month. My question is, what is the one food, other than garlic, that can keep high blood pressure in check?
I'm not going to say one food. I'm going to give you one recipe. I'm going to give you one recipe. And then I'm going to talk. High blood pressure is a favorite subject for me. Diabetes, high blood pressure, arthritis are secondary diseases. It's not much of an effort to deal with them. And I don't get as much of that anymore. But they're very easy to overcome those problems. Now let's talk about high blood pressure. The formula. Take one whole eggplant, raw eggplant, chop it up, or eggplant, the whole. Cut it up, put it in a pitcher of spring water. Every ingredient is important. Don't put it in distilled water. Don't put it in alkaline water. In spring water. There's certain minerals that will complement the eggplant. Take 3 buds of garlic, chop it up, and put it in the eggplant tea. Now, you're going to probably be using somewhere between 2 quarts of water on the eggplant, 3 buds of garlic. If it's a female with high blood pressure, you want to use 1 tablespoon of black cohosh. Buds, whole buds, chop it up, put it in there. If a female, you want to use 1 tablespoon of black cohosh, mix it in. If it's a male, you can use, if it's a male, you want to use 1 tablespoon of yarrow, or you can use a tablespoon of wild yam. Mix it in the eggplant and let it set on your table overnight. The next day, put it in the refrigerator for 2 days.
How much water?
About 2 quarts. Put it in the refrigerator for about 2 days. Now you want to drink 3 to 4 ounces of this eggplant tea. But you must eliminate all salt out of your diet for 10 days.
Yeah.
If you eat salt, you're going to neutralize it for just 10 days. Eliminate all salt in your diet for 10 days and all fried food for 10 days. And you have to monitor your blood pressure every 3 times a day. The reason for that, your pressure is going to drop. And 3 times a day, you've got to check your pressure. If you don't do this, you could drop too low. It could take it too low. And I don't want to do that. So when you see it drop, it continue to drop too low, you stop drinking the eggplant tea. And now you're ready to incorporate a little salt in your diet, just a small amount of salt in your diet. And it should normalize. Other thing you want to do is make sure your bowels are ready. You should have 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. If you don't have one, then the exhaust system is blocked, and that can create pressure called high blood pressure. So you need to have 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. Get a little exercise. You should do fine with it. Now, if your pressure gets dangerously high, 200 over 130, 200 over 40, pulse rate 110, 115, you know that's dead. Tell you what to do, put that to check that. And we have to learn emergency techniques because we don't have time to wait for nutrition to work. We got to reverse it quick. So what you want to do is take 1 to 2 buds of garlic and chop it up. And then put it in the blender. Fill the blender with water and liquefy it. And then you want to take a clean enema, regular enema bag, and you want to give yourself about a 6-ounce retention garlic enema. You want to inject about 6 ounces of that garlic tea in your rectum. The reason you're doing that is that this is called a rectal IV. It will bypass your gastric tract, which will neutralize a lot of the garlic, so by the time it reaches your vascular system, you're not getting very much. But if you send it through the rectum, the portal veins in the rectum will absorb the garlic because it's a solid, take it right through your vascular system, and within minutes, your pressure will drop. If it's real high, you may do it 3 or 4 times. Each time you do it, your pressure will drop 10 to 15 times. That'll keep you from having a stroke. Take a half teaspoon of cayenne pepper 3 times a day. That'll keep you from having a heart attack. Drink some ginger tea. That'll keep you from forming a blood clot. So is my 20 minutes up?
Yeah, time is up. This will be our last question.
I just have one question on this, drinking the tea. How often, how often do you drink the tea?
At least 2 to 3 times
2
a
to
day.
3 times a day, okay. Yeah, because you're checking your blood pressure. Oh, yes, I have a friend who has a shaking. It's not Parkinson's. She and her sister both have it.
Okay.
What kinds of things can they take for that, or is it something that is her head and her sister's is her hands too?
Yeah. There's different types of hearts. There's the type that you shake, there's the type that do not shake. But even with the shaking, I would need a proper diagnosis, but any type of tremor or shake have to do with simply the dopamine level is out of balance. So what we do, we increase that dopamine, and we get a MAC. That's an area called MAC. Yes. And that's high in dopamine. We also put them on the banana fast. We let them eat 3 to 5 bananas a day. That's high in dopamine. We also make them something out of fava beans, F-A-V-A, fava beans. It's one of the highest sources of dopamine. And there are others, but we also, if their shaking is not Parkinson, then we are treated as postural nervous condition. We would give them comforting herbs such as valerian, skullcap. We would also give them a warm bath, soft bath, steam bath, soft gloves, massage, and let's stimulate the diet. But you need a proper diagnosis. I work with the medical system. I don't guess with my people. I want to get a good diagnosis. Like when I work with a lot of breast cancer, and most people treat breast cancer, all of the same. That's the wrong way of doing it. All breast cancers are different, and they need to be treated different. I give this in closing. If a breast cancer patient has a hormone-driven breast cancer, and you give them a lot of carrot juice and red clover, you're going to feed the estrogen. Those are phytoestrogen herbs. So you want to do just the opposite of that. You want to give them herbs high in progesterone and testosterone. If you eat a lot of soy, you're going to feed the cancer cells. I want to thank y'all so much. I've enjoyed it. And I'm glad God blessed me to come down and see you. Thanks, Sister Florence, Rashad, for inviting me. Amen. And I was able to make it. Amen.